happens to a country when its dictator disappears overnight. For decades, Syria was a land of war, revolution, and repression.
President Bashar al-Assad having fled the country.
Forces have declared the end of President Bashar al-Assad's rule after 13 years of civil war.
President Assad has left Damascus by plane for an unknown destination.
But now everything has changed. Bashar al-Assad is gone. The man who ruled with an iron fist, who survived wars, uprisings, and foreign intervention, vanished overnight. No farewell speech, no grand exit, just a private jet, a handful of bodyguards, and something far more valuable than his life: Syria's gold reserves. But here's the real story of a country whose dictator disappeared overnight. Bashar al-Assad was never meant to rule. His father, Hafez, ran Syria as a military dictatorship for 30 years. When his eldest son, Bassel, died in a car crash, the quiet, London-educated Bashar was thrust into power in 2000. He promised reforms, but nothing changed. Corruption thrived, opposition was crushed, and he built his power on a loyal circle of elites and military leaders. Then came 2011. As protests spread across Syria, Assad responded with bullets, torture, and siege warfare. When rebels fought back, he returned to Russia and Iran, who kept his regime alive with weapons and troops. Then ISIS arrived. Instead of stopping them, Assad let them grow, using their terror as a shield. It's either me or the terrorists, he told the world, and it worked. By 2018, the revolution was over. The rebels were gone, ISIS was defeated, and Assad was still in power. But even the most ruthless dictators don't last forever. In 2025, his time finally ran out. On the night of January 12, 2025, Assad disappeared. No coup, no final battle, just a quiet retreat aboard a jet heading to an unknown destination. But he didn't leave empty-handed. Reports suggest he looted Syria's gold reserves before vanishing, several $billion worth. Where it went, no one knows. But what he left behind is even more shocking. A palace stripped of his riches, luxury cars abandoned in garages, beneath the floors hidden torture chambers, underground cells, rooms designed for suffering, rooms designed for the enemies of the regime. But with Assad gone, Syria was leaderless. And in a country filled with warlords, foreign armies, and hidden agendas, that meant one thing: a power struggle was about to begin. After Assad's escape, Syria didn't collapse completely, because someone was already waiting to take over. A man few in the West had even heard of. His name, Ahmed al-Shara. Born in 1982, he grew up in Damascus and studied media and medicine before becoming involved with extremists group. In the early 2000s, he joined Al-Qaeda in Iraq and worked closely with jihadist networks in Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. After being arrested by US forces, he spent over 5 years in detention, including at Abu Ghraib and Camp Bucca, both known for hardening jihadists. And yet, within days of Assad's departure, delegations from Russia, China, Iran, and even some European nations arrived in Damascus, eager to build relations. But why?
The head of Syria's new administration is calling for a new start and an end to all Western sanctions.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has praised Syria's interim leader, Ahmed al-Shara, for his strong commitment to fighting terror.
In the talks today, we made clear Europe will support, but Europe would not be a financier of Islamist structures.
Here's the thing: when a dictator falls, the vultures don't wait. Syria sits in the crossroads of the Middle East, and controlling it means controlling pipelines, trade routes, and influence. Russia and Iran backed Assad for years, so naturally they wanted a say in who rules next. China, economic expansion; Turkey, border security. Even Western nations who once called Assad a war criminal suddenly sent observers to meet his replacement. The narrative was clear: this is a fresh start for Syria. But then reality hit.
Wave of violence in Syria last week.
Government has deployed more forces to the affected areas and imposed a curfew.
UN says entire families were killed in Syria's coastal region during clashes between the new authorities and members of the Alawite community.
At first, Syria's new government promised change, peace, stability, but then reports started surfacing. In a small town just outside Damascus, dozens of civilians were executed. The government called it an anti-terror operation. The media called it a massacre. Eyewitnesses described soldiers going door to door, dragging people into the streets. Some were accused of supporting Assad, others of working with the rest. The result, public executions, bodies left as warnings. And suddenly, the world realized nothing had changed. Some leaders called for investigations, others stayed quiet. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: Syria's new leader isn't a reformer, he's a mirror image of Assad, just with a different flag. By the time the world figures this out, it might be too late. Syria has a new leader, but what does that actually mean? Will the people finally see peace, or have they just traded one dictator for another? And more importantly, what happens next? Will the world hold this government accountable, or will history repeat itself again? One thing is certain: the world's most powerful players aren't finished with Syria yet. And if history has taught us anything, this is far from over. So I think this is not going to be the last time we're going to talk about Syria in a video here on the Monthly Source. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and leaving your subscription, leaving your likes and your comments. I appreciate that, and I will see you around. Thank you.